Now, when you as a Canadian were being pitched Kyoto, did anybody tell you you have to take all the cars off the road? But apparently that's what the government thinks you have to do. The Conservatives say their plan is going to be to reduce pollution more effectively than the target set under Kyoto. But aside from that, they're not saying much, and they actually hardly mention the environment in the budget. So are the Conservatives anti-environment, or are they just being realistic with another plan? Well, if you want to talk about the world, certainly this way, you go to this guy here, David Suzuki. Hey, David, how are things, man?
Good. Great day today.
It certainly is. What do you think about what happened today, and what do you think about what's going on with the Conservatives in relation to Kyoto?
Well, you know, I'm absolutely embarrassed as a Canadian. I can't understand why Ms. Ambrose doesn't just resign. She's making a mockery of our position at the conferences that are going on now. You know, Canada signed the Kyoto Protocol. We ratified it despite enormous opposition from the United States. And when Mr. Putin ratified Kyoto, it became international law. I thought Canadians regarded ourselves as international good guys, and certainly last fall in November and December, as we watched the government negotiating the COP11 meetings about the Kyoto Agreement, I was very, very proud of my country because we took the lead despite all of the efforts of the Americans to essentially blindside the Kyoto process. We hung in there with the rest of the world and banged out an agreement. And we took the leadership. We were chairing that conference. And I felt that Canada played a very important role, which now Ms. Ambrose, by going and immediately throwing up her hands and saying, no, we can't be met, we want special consideration. It doesn't make any sense, and I think it's absolutely humiliating as a Canadian to have our minister there claiming to chair this next meeting.
Well, you know, when the Canadian House ratified Kyoto, it was non-binding, but they sent the message, it was 195 to 77. It was overwhelming. And presumably smart women and smart men were a part of the negotiations for Kyoto. But Canada and England have now come out and they said that they can't meet the requirements. So my question to you is, were they lying and misleading us about or were they just stupid and they got it wrong?
I think the truth is that the government before this current one talked a good line and really started a few things that were good, but wasn't serious enough about actually implementing the demand for reduction in greenhouse gas emission by becoming more efficient, by looking for alternative non-polluting sources of energy. There wasn't enough pressure put on. But I think that government was fully committed to trying to meet the target by 2012. This government is very different. I talked to Mr. Harper before he was even leader of the current Conservative Party, and he told me then he didn't believe the Kyoto target could be met, and he didn't believe in the process anyway. So this is something that goes long back before the current government is in power.
But you mentioned it, you were right there. You said the Liberals talked a good line, and while they did at the end, but that's one of those legacy things, and for a long time they talked and did very little about it. So I think there's a lot of people who look at Kyoto and say Stephen Harper is just being practical, and the Conservatives are being practical about what they expect from Canada.
Why would it be practical to dismantle every single one of the programs that the previous government had implemented to try to reduce greenhouse gas emissions?
Is it just partisan politics?
The one that you mentioned, the Energuide. Why would we do that? When this is a system that works very, very well, especially for low-income families. This is a way to reduce their energy bill, so they'll save money, and it's good for the environment. Why would the government gut everything? I mean, this doesn't make any sense at all, especially when I would have expected that there would have been an alternative right up there, and we would be told what it is before they got the programs that are already in.
Well, and you know, it's interesting because you look at the way the Liberals run, where the NDP obviously haven't been in power, and they were the ones that helped bring the government down, so there was no hope for Kyoto to take hold in any way on both their parts. Brian Mulroney was recently named the Greenest Prime Minister, and Stephen Harper says there's a Made in Canada plan. What do you think the Made in Canada plan could be that would be better than Kyoto?
I have no idea. I have no idea because a lot of the Kyoto process was a Made in Canada plan. You know, there were a lot of us in the environmental movement in Kyoto that did not want trading emissions. You know, a loophole like this. There were the delegation from Alberta that were pushing like mad for all these kinds of loopholes that would weaken the protocol. Once that was in place, everybody now objects to that, but that was a part of what Canadians were pushing for. So I don't know what a Made in Canada plan is. Every country has the ability to do the reductions in whatever way that they can. But the point is, this is an international law. It is, are we going to be bound by it or are we not? The United States and Australia, by declaring they don't want a part of the Kyoto process, is saying that they're opting out of what the vast majority of countries have agreed to as a process for reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. I thought Canada was a good guy. I thought that's what our record showed, that we wanted to be a part of this international agreement. Now the Harper government seems to be saying, no, this is not what they want.
So you're on this book tour now. You got your autobiography out saying you're about ready to pass the torch. You've done your part. Do you feel like you're leaving that movement in good hands?
Well, I feel very, very frustrated now because, you know, the reason why Brian Mulroney was the greenest prime minister was because in 1988, when he was re-elected, the public concern was at its absolute height. That's when George Bush ran for president and said, if you elect me, I'll be an environmental president. That's the year that Margaret Thatcher was filmed saying, I'm a greenie too. Everybody was green then because the public demanded it. Now I feel this government has taken us way back in what it's brought down in the budget. We know that Mr. Harper has only one priority, and that's getting reelected. Anybody in his position would have that as their priority. We know the 5 promises he's committed to do not include the environment. The only way to get that environment back on the agenda is for us as a general public to say, look, the economy is doing fine. Don't use the economy as the excuse now for avoiding what is a very serious problem. Even Minister Ambrose says climate change is affecting the north of Canada. We're going to be disproportionately affected by climate change. Surely it's in our best interest to be leaders in reducing greenhouse gas emissions for our own sake. We're a northern country.
Well,
we're a country that relies on agriculture, forestry, fisheries. We're a country that relies on ecotourism for our parks. All of those are going to be impacted by climate change.
Well, they say they have a plan. We'll see what happens when that plan comes out. Perhaps we'll get you on. David, thanks for your time.
It better be soon. It better be soon.
There you go, David Suzuki. Rona Ambrose is the Environment Minister, by the way. We did ask Rona Ambrose to come on the program tonight. We have invited her before. Her office says she was not available, but the invitation still stands.